Sunday, March 5th, 2023. History.
Moment to recognize the brave men and women who endured pain and punishment, all in the name of freedom, on March 7th, 1965, a day we now know as Bloody Sunday. On that day, 58 years ago, in Selma, Alabama, state and local police used billy clubs, whips, and tear gas to attack more than 600 civil rights activists, including the late John Lewis. Before John Lewis became a revered member of Congress from Georgia, he was the leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He led the march along with the late Reverend Hosea Williams from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Men, women, and children had planned to march 54 miles from Selma to the state capital of Montgomery, Alabama. They were marching to protest the denial of voting rights for African Americans and the murder of 26-year-old activist Jimmy Lee Jackson, who had been fatally shot during an earlier peaceful protest. Instead, they were brutally assaulted after crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The attack was televised, and those unforgettable images sparked change across our nation, because on that Bloody Sunday, millions of Americans finally saw and could no longer ignore the violence and injustice that many Black Americans knew all too well. More and more people joined this freedom movement, and they marched again just a few weeks later on March 21st, 1965. This time, with 25,000 people under the protection of the National Guard, and they made it to the steps of the Capitol in Montgomery, Alabama. This act of good trouble mobilized Congress to pass the Voting Rights Act, which President Johnson signed into law on August 6, 1965. We remember the heroes who led this fight and honor those who are keeping the fight for civil rights alive.